Guys, I have blind bought over 50 fragrances. I rarely fail when I blind buy a fragrance, and you all know what type of fragrances I'm buying, the ones that you don't really find in a store and you can try for yourself. I usually buy the fragrances online. So how do I do it? Well guys, in this video I'm going to give you 6 tips on how to become a blind buy champion. How to blind buy a fragrance without having the fear of being a total disappointment. Tip number 6, guys, if you're buying the fragrances online, use the same online to search for any type of reviews about that specific fragrance. Even a comment left in an online shop by a customer about that fragrance is very useful. So take a little bit of time and do a little bit of research before blind buying. Tip number 5, check the brand. Any type of information about the brand, not only about the fragrance, but what is this brand actually doing? Is it legit? Is it worth blind buying a fragrance with this brand's name? So if you find a review or two about 2 other fragrances from a brand and you see that they are all successful, they are great fragrances, people praise the brand and their fragrances, that's one of the clear signs of the blind buying process. So the brands that release fragrances that are either a hit or miss aren't that safe for a blind buy. Tip number 4, this one is really simple, but it can be very tricky. Don't buy because of the bottle. You hear me guys? Don't blind buy a fragrance because it has such an awesome bottle. Guys, most of the time the photos that you see online, they are photoshopped. So the bottle may look way better than it really looks in reality. And even if the bottle looks gorgeous, even if it looks luxurious, and it gives you that feeling that you might get some really nice juice inside, you won't. There's no guarantee that the juice inside of a gorgeous bottle will be exactly on your taste. So unless you want the fragrance just because of that really awesome looking bottle, then don't blind buy it just because of the bottle. Okay guys, tip number 3. This one is pretty easy. Actually, it's probably the second most easy tip I could give you. Check the notes. And I don't mean to actually see what it contains, if it has like safe notes. No, check if it has lots of notes. Most of the fragrances that you see these days have around like 10 notes, but there are those fragrances that have around 20 to 30 to maybe even a lot more notes. So if the producers invested time and money to add so many notes, it means that it's really something good going on in that fragrance. So again, check the notes. The more notes the fragrance has, the better it might be. Tip number 2, it's also related to the notes. This time you actually have to look for your favorite notes. If you are into some specific notes, it is much safer to blind buy a fragrance that you already know it's going to have something that you already love. Yeah, of course, some notes will not smell the same in every fragrance, but it does contain the note that you love. So let's say that you don't know how arga wood smells. I wouldn't recommend ever blind buying a fragrance with arga wood. It is like the hardest note to like without ever smelling it. So again, try to choose a fragrance that doesn't have notes that you might not like. Tip number 1, guys, the easy tip. Don't blind buy expensive fragrances. And I mean like really expensive fragrances, like $100 and above. The less you pay for a fragrance, the lower the risk that you will be disappointed. Okay, it might not be the fragrance you like, but you have spent only $10 on it. How bad do you feel? How bad would you have felt if you have spent like $300 and it's a piece of crap? Spending like $10 to $20 on a fragrance that you're not going to like after blind buying it, it's much less disappointing. So guys, these were my 6 tips on how to become blind buy champion. Hope they are useful to you. And until the next video, you keep smelling great.